In this episode, you'll learn what a node is, what ports do, and how these elements connect to form a workflow. Up to this point, we've explored the Spaces interface and learned how to find and add nodes. Now it's time to understand the logic that makes the whole system work. To see this clearly, let's begin with one of the simplest examples. We'll start by adding a text node to the canvas. Before we continue, this is a good moment to explain what a node actually represents. A workflow is simply a sequence of steps where information moves from one step to the next. In Spaces, each step lives inside its own node. Many of these nodes will already feel familiar because they represent tools you've worked with before. In the previous course, tools like image generator or video generator appeared as standalone interfaces. Here, those same tools appear as nodes that can connect to one another and become part of a larger workflow. Some nodes generate new results, others modify existing material, and some simply organize or pass information forward. When these steps are connected, information flows from one node to another. That connected structure is what we call a workflow. Now let's take a closer look at the text node we just added. The text node stores written content directly inside the canvas. This content can be used in several ways. You might write prompts, add notes, describe parts of a project, label sections of the canvas, or simply keep important ideas organized. In this example, we'll use it in the simplest possible way. We'll place a short prompt inside it so another node can use that text later. It's also worth noticing something important here. This same text could be written directly inside an image generator node. But keeping it in a separate text node gives you more flexibility. You can disconnect it, reconnect it somewhere else, reuse it, or create several versions to explore different directions more easily. Separating steps like this is one of the key ideas behind working with nodes. Now let's look more closely at how this one is structured. On the side of the text node, you'll notice a small circular connection point. This is called a port. Ports define how information enters or leaves a node. In other words, they are the points where nodes connect to each other. If you hover over a port, Spaces shows you the type of information that port represents. This matters because connections are not arbitrary. A connection only works when the information coming out of one node matches the type of input the next one expects. In the case of the text node, we only see an output port. This tells us that the text node sends information outward, but does not receive information from another node first. So even before creating any connections, the structure already tells us how this step behaves. Let's add another node so we can compare them. This time we'll add an image generator node. As soon as it appears, you can see that its structure is different. Unlike the text node, the image generator includes both an input port and an output port. The input port allows it to receive information from another node. The output port allows it to send its result forward to the next step. You may also notice that some nodes include more than one input port. This means they can receive different types of information. In this case, the image generator can receive text from a previous node or reference images that help guide the result. This difference exists because each node performs a different role. The text node holds written information that can be passed to other nodes. The image generator receives that text as input and uses it to generate an image, which can then feed another compatible node in the chain. By looking at nodes' ports, you can already begin to understand what role it plays. Now let's connect these two nodes. We take the output port from the text node and connect it to the input port of the image generator. Once that connection is made, the second node now depends on the first one. The image generator will use the text stored in the text node as part of its input. Not every connection is possible. If you try to connect ports that are not compatible, Spaces will block the connection and display an error. This happens because each port represents a specific type of information, and connections are only allowed when those types match. Once a valid connection exists, the nodes begin to work together as a chain, passing information from one step to the next. Now let's run this example. When it executes, the image generator reads the text stored in the text node and uses it as input to create an image. In this case, the prompt describes a dynamic outdoor scene, 2 athletes drinking water, strong foreground perspective, warm sunlight, vibrant colours, and cinematic natural light. The important idea here is not the image itself, but how the information moves through the system. One node provides the information, the next one receives it, processes it, and produces the result. That is the core logic of spaces. A node represents a step. Ports define how information enters or leaves that step. And connections turn individual steps into a functioning system. Once you understand nodes, ports, and connections, building workflows becomes much easier. In the next episodes, we'll keep building on these ideas as we explore more nodes and how they work together. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.